Hello, Ushma.
Hey,
Hello. How are
finally.
you?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Where I was, suddenly it became one of the worst places in Europe to be
Yes,
for
I
COVID.
hear that.
Um, and uh, and so it was a challenging place to be, and I was not, I did not become infected, but almost everybody I had been with had, and so I was just sort of helping out as much as possible.
That's good to know.
But how are you? So it's wonderful to meet you.
Same here. I'm excited, nervous, all thing
Oh,
together.
nothing to be nervous about. Nothing. We're just having
It's
a
just the
chat.
camera, that kind of stirs up some anxiety. So I just
Sure.
thought I'll check in with that. But
Okay.
yeah, I've been following your work. In fact, my brother introduced me to your work when I moved to behavior science. And he said that you need to check out his work, and we were like, wow, that's very impressive. So
Oh well, thank you. So what
all
do you mean?
butterflies, and so glad that you selected the work. I got an opportunity to speak with you, so thank you so
Well,
much.
or more importantly, I got an opportunity to speak with you. So, I mean, we'll talk about your work. It'd be wonderful too. And I really enjoyed it and appreciated both the imagery, but also your writing,
Oh, thank
as
you.
did Melanie and the others in the lab who
Thank you.
were responsible for sifting through. We had lots of people submit work, which was really generous and lovely. And then there was some in particular that spoke to us. And yours was one in particular. So, just because I have a sense of who you are based on what you submitted, but no one else will. I mean, no one else, maybe the people in our community who will be hearing this won't. So who are you, right? And you can answer that in any way you want.
Yeah, I always find this question a little tricky. Because who am I is something which even I'm trying to explore.
Me too.
On this earth, I am Ushma, and the meaning of my name means warmth. It
Means which?
also is a unit of energy.
Means, oh,
Uh,
sorry, it means warmth, did you say?
Warmth, yeah,
Oh, how wonderful.
yeah, and it's also, it's not too hot, not too cold, just the right balance. That's how I like to tell about my name. And I always say that somewhere the name, has a characteristic. When you label something, you tend to get to know some characteristics. So I always see my name as something that I strive to become, because as an individual, I am, very driven by emotions. So it's sometimes hot and sometimes cold. So my name becomes something that I aspire to be, just the right amount of heat and cold. So that's about
But of course,
my.
we also have average over time. So if you're hot and cold and you're in movement, you could be warm
Yes,
on
that's right.
average, right?
Yes.
And so it's just right on average. And it could be, of course, that in any of those moments, being hot or cold could be just right for those contexts.
True. Everything has its purpose. So, and everything needs to be, and everything comes at the right time. So,
Well, I was wondering, at what age did you become aware of the meaning of your name? From the very earliest of the ages that you can remember, or did that come? Did your awareness of the meaning of your name come later?
it came later. I used to ask this question to my parents. So my name was always very different sounding. Whether it was in my class, along with, so, and people used to kind of change my name to something which is easier to speak, like Uma or Sushma. These are some of the Indian names which you find very, which are common. So I used to always find that, okay, there is something unusual. So that's when and many times you do not take that unusual thing. It's just a part of you. You do not really like to explore. But just one fine day, during my high school, when we were introduced to a subject which is Sanskrit. That's when I got to know. So I belong to a place called Vadodara in Gujarat, which is the western part of the Indian subcontinent. And so my mother tongue is Gujarati. And when we learn in school, we learn not just one language. We learn English, Sanskrit, Hindi, and Gujarati. So like 4 languages we learn. And that's when I came across something which sounded similar to me. It was something as Ushma. That's when I came and asked my parents, okay, what does my name mean? I said that, okay, this is what it is. So,
and what did you remember the feeling that you had when you heard the meaning of your name? Did you feel, oh, that resonates, that's exactly how I feel? Or did you see it as something to aspire into? And from
I found it to be, I had a wow moment. Oh, wow. It's warmth. Why? Because I always associate warmth with the mother, with hugs. The feeling you get when you are with your loved one. And somewhere, I realized this later, that what attracted me was always that warmth in relations. So, and that was a journey in itself, and I think mandalas have helped me realize that. So that it was like a spark that, the meaning is something I always looked forward to.
So do you feel that the name was appropriate for you when you heard the name? Or did you want to become appropriate for your name, if you see what I mean? Which do you feel came first, or was it a symbiotic relationship, or has it become?
It's I never I've never thought about this, but if I reflect back on the experience, I think I always strive to become what my name meant. As you said, there's hot and cold, which kind of denotes life, and I have experienced heat to the full form and coldness to its full form. And what keeps me grounded is, okay, there is a way to balance, because it's not that always balance is something which is the ideal state, but that balance kind of brings in, it opens up a space wherein a lot of unimagined or intangible things are born. That's what I have experienced, and we go through that cycle. That has been my experience. I mean, when I go through those extreme highs and extreme lows, and then comes a stage where it's all silence. A lot of things start becoming clear.
Do you think that it's in that moment of extreme silence by itself, or do you feel that it's the extreme silence that comes after the, I don't want to say turmoil, but that up and down, that dynamicism, and then you come to silence? A lot of people talk about how the great ideas or great thinking or ideas, moments come to them in moments of silence, often taking a shower, people use that as an example, or being in nature, which is a wonderful thing. And so as a consequence, they want to spend more time in those moments. But I often suggest to them that, well, before giving what I think, I would like to know what for you is, when they come into that silence, do you think it's the silence, or do you think it's the silence in a larger context that matters? And I don't mean that to be a leading question.
So I think it's a process of reaching that silence. And I feel that the silence is right within us. It's there, it doesn't go anywhere. And all the highs.
Sorry, you think the silence is sorry to interrupt, but you think the silence is already there?
It's already present. It's already present. And that's what I have experienced while I do my mandala art. Generally I go to my mandalas or my art when I am in a little bit of a lot of thinking mode, right? And I see that my thoughts are repetitive. It's not, it's not giving me, it's the same thing which it's going around in circles. And the work that I do involves a lot of working with people. So whatever, if I'm suppressing what I'm feeling, I do not bring my entire self to the work that I do. So what I have seen is when I'm in too much of thinking mode, then my conversations are at intellectual level, talking about concepts, talking about theories, taking some names of some famous philosophers, trying to sound intellectually, as if I'm one step up.
Yeah.
And that's a high. But at the same time, what I've seen is people connect more when I am in a feeling mode, or maybe I feel connected. And that's what I've seen when I do mandala, that everything comes there. My thoughts come. And I always have experienced that thoughts, underlying the thoughts, there are feelings which are there. And in fact, more the thoughts means there is something most definite that I need to pay attention to, something that I'm missing. So as I go about, doing the art, I realize, and art becomes a container. In fact, the meaning of mandala is very beautiful. It is a space, an empty space to hold everything that you want to hold. So as I go about doing it, I realize that there are so many things which are already there. There is a lot of noise. There are some thoughts. There are memories. So many processes I become aware of. And then there is one moment which is, there is absolute silence, and I'm completely integrated with what I'm doing. I'm completely aware of how my pen is moving or how the colors are moving. So I always feel that while we try for that silence, because I think that moment is blissful or it's something very different, but it's already within. All you need to do is go on experiencing all the obstacles to it. And maybe once you experience that, nobody remembers that feeling. So then it becomes easier to go there. That has been my experience with silence. And honestly, last 2 weeks, I have seen that there's a lot of noise inside. So one day I just start of the week, I realized that this noise needs to come out. And that's the time when I sit with my art, with my scale. I do not have anything particular in mind, but then I either start writing. And I also see that when I write, my pen would move in a very different direction. So sometimes I can see that. Sometimes I'm writing in a very linear way, the way we are taught in school, right? From one end to another. As I ease in myself, because what is important is as I become aware of what is happening within me, I also realize that there are some moments of discomfort within me. There are some voices which are, which are a little critical, right? And I need to hear them out. I cannot say that now I'm not going to listen to what's happening. As I go about that journey, I have also experienced my writing becoming circular. Sometimes it's slanting. There is no shape to it. I write at one corner or other corner. In fact, I can show it in later on I can show it how I write. And then I tend to, when I take that and just try to visualize it on the paper, that's where mandala comes up. In fact, if I may share, this is the latest one which I am making. If you can see.
Yes, and then.
Yes. So there are three circles, which I have realized that, there is this conscious mind of mine which is trying to make some sense, because you and I understand a language. There is something common between us. The language, it has its grammar and it is syntax. I cannot go about speaking in a different language because you would not understand, and that's the very point of communication, that it's more about understanding. And what I realize is we are constantly in this circle, right? When we interact with humans, we're constantly in that circle of trying to sound right, trying to sound in a way that you understand. But then when I reflected a little bit more, I realized that there is so much inside. There's some song which is playing, there's a memory which is coming up, but I'm not paying attention to it. And the main reason is because I tend to judge things as right or happy and sad or dark. Right? So if I move beyond it, there's this space which is empty. And trust me, the space doesn't remain empty for a long time. Something or another will come up. That's what has been my experience.
That's wonderful. Thank you for explaining it. I just exploring the concept of silence, and I'm wondering when you're in that moment of silence, and whether, first of all, that we need that activity and the ups and downs. There's going to be a couple of questions in here. We have that activity that comes before, and then, as you say, then we come into the silence. But the silence needs the activity that came before, otherwise, right? And in some sense, you could argue that's the distinction between being awake and being asleep. You have awake, which you're creating all kinds of personal experiences, and when you're asleep, you then kind of have the integration between them. So I'm wondering whether when you're doing your drawing and the writing, you're finding yourself initially there's noise, and when you go to silence, I'm wondering what that silence means. Because one thought is that what that silence is this space is not a nothingness. It's an integration. It's finding the connection between things. So instead of things being binary, suddenly they become more integrated. And when we find that integration between things, we actually do feel more silent. We feel less stressed. The amount of energy your brain needs, in fact, goes down because we found the connection between things. And I'm wondering if that's what in some sense the meandering and the following of the thread suddenly goes from linear to circular to now wandering, because it's finding those connections, and then you're feeling calmer.
Now that you express it, makes me my experience when I experience that integration. So there is a word consilience, which I happen to read in Jonathan Hadett's book, The Righteous Mind, which talks about convergence of different fields of discipline coming together. As I said, being part of behavior, human behavior, dealing with behavior science in general, is somewhere I'm constantly seeking answers for certain behaviors. And sometimes I find answer in philosophy, which can be generally I tend to read a lot about Vedantic philosophy, which is something which is known as Hinduism, but it's something for all humans to understand. I sometimes read something on neuroscience, specifically the limbic system, because emotions is something which I'm always attracted to. Sometimes I read a quote of Rumi, and what I see is everything kind of comes together. So there is this beautiful quote of Rumi, which is like, "Home is a place where light enters." There is another one which is about love, that
also have to let go of preconception in order to find, in some sense, literally a higher dimensionality in your brain, more connectivity, where things that were originally appearing binary or even mutually exclusive aren't. And I wonder to what extent this might be related to Indian culture in general, not to generalize too much, but my experience, and will be a naive experience, but of Indian culture is there's tremendous diversity. People aren't always aware of how much diversity there is in Indian culture. And there's some tremendous research showing how in Indian culture there's also tremendous integration across that diversity, which has created remarkably resilient people in communities, because resilience comes from that integration, not from the diversity itself. I'm wondering to what extent this, what you're speaking about and writing about, and even that warmth is the integration between hot and cold.
I never saw it this way, so thank you for bringing that perspective to Ushma.
Does it resonate with you? If not, let's say, nah, that's crap, Beau.
When you said something on the culture, so I'm reminded of, you're right. I mean, we are, our culture is such. So since the time we are kids, when we are growing up, we are taught that always look at the human behind, all the labels and the tags. There is this human who's there, who feels the same, who's having, if not same, but similar needs. And the least you can do is treat them with dignity and respect. And I've seen it. In fact, my family, the place that we stay in, I see a lot of diversity, even in socio-economic dimensions. So, and I have played with them as a kid. So it comes very natural. And in fact, the word namaste.
What's the word?
Namaste. We don't do handshake. We greet by keeping our arms together and bow it down to the other person, which actually means that the divinity in me bows down to the divinity in you. So my mornings actually start with such words or such chants. So maybe it comes as a part of my upbringing and the culture. And behavior is always an outcome of two things: the personality as well as the environment. So
it feels that bowing down to your divinity. And it is a wonderful place from which to end our current part of our conversation. And I want to thank you for taking the time to sharing your process and your thinking and your art and creations with us and with others.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
It's mine. It's my honor. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Wonderful to see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.